Hi guys, we're going to use Adobe Illustrator this week to make our fidgeting spinners. This is what the board looks like. This is an example of a spinner that I just created. And I'm going to take you through some of the processes. You can't see all the headings, so you're going to have to really pay attention and take notes. So to start with, I'm going to go to File, New, and I'm going to label my document Central Middle School Spinner. You will be naming yours with your last name and then whatever kind of spinner you're creating. Um, I want to come down here to inches, and this is where you're going to put what you want to use. You can do it in centimeters or millimeters if you want, but it's more difficult because we're used to inches. So I'm going to click on inches. Our board that we're going to use, our cutting board for our laser, is 24 inches, so I'm always going to have 24 inches. And the height of our cutting board in the laser machine is 12 inches, so I'm always going to have that at 12. Then I'm going to come down to advanced, and I always want this to be RGB, which stands for red, green, blue. So if it is something else, if it's CMYK, make sure you choose RGB for your colors. So once again, label it, put in your units as inches, put in your width, 24 inches, put in your height, 12 inches, put in RGB, and then click OK. So now we've got a new template, and I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what shape I want, so I'm just going to start coming over here. It says ellipse, or it might say rectangle. If I hold my mouse down on this, I get all these options. And I think I would like to start with the polygon tool. And the polygon tool is cool because I can actually choose how many sides and how many shapes. So it might start out with a four-sided polygon or three. I'm going to come up here to shape, and I'm going to choose six. Let's see what that looks like. And how do I like that? I don't think I like that at all. I think I'm going to go back to a triangle. So for how many sides are here, I'm going to put three again. And then over here on the bottom left-hand side, we have the radius. And the radius for the spinner should be no bigger than 3. Simply because you're holding this with your middle finger and thumb and spinning it. And the area in between there for it to spin shouldn't be any bigger than 3 inches. So I'm going to choose 3 there. I'll let the other one go to default. And it's trying to create another one. I don't want another one. In fact, I don't want 2 of these. I just want 1. So I'm going to highlight on it with the black arrow key and delete it. So now I have this nice triangle. Everything looks cool. And I want to start putting some shapes in there and manipulating those shapes. So I'm going to start with the circle of the spinner. So I'm going to come back up here to the polygon tool. For yours, it might say rectangle tool. I'm going to hold it down until I get to ellipse. When I get to ellipse, I'll pull it over. I'm going to click the shift button. And the reason I click the shift button is I want a perfect circle. So there's a perfect circle. I'm going to do the ellipse button without doing shift, and so you can see what it looks like. You can do all kinds of weird stuff. But by clicking the shift button, you can create a perfect circle. I'm going to delete that one, just get it out of the way. I'm going to click on my original circle. I'm going to come up here to transform, and you can see I have a height and a width up here. I can also click in transform and have the same items. It just looks a little more cluttered. And I know from experience and from measuring that the bearings that we're going to use for our spinners are 22 millimeters. So even though we've chosen inches for our template, we can put in millimeters and it'll convert it, and you'll see that in just a second. So I'm going to put in 22 millimeters, and I'm also going to do that with the height, 22 millimeters, and you can see that it converted it to inches. So 22 millimeters is 8661 inches. What is that? 866 thousandth, 10,000th of an inch. So there we go. So this circle here represents what, oh, I just messed it up. And that's going to happen to you too. So if you make mistakes, do Command Z and it goes back to the last thing that you had it. I'm going to click on the edge of my circle, go to the middle, then I can move it. And so I want my spinner in the middle, right in the middle. And so to do this, I can click the whole, both items, and come up here to these cool little alignment tools. And then you can just play with these. Like you might, obviously that one messed it up, and it looks like, so let's go Command Z, Command Z, and that looks like it's perfectly in the middle, but I just have a boring triangle. So I want to change some stuff. I also want to put some spinners out here in the corner. We could also put bolts in the corner if you want to create more than one spinner. You're being frugal. Let's see if we can choose some bolts for this baby. Go up here to shape. And so for a bolt, we need how many sides? I think 6 sides. Yep, that looks like a nice bolt. And I also know from experience that our 3/4 inch bolts are 62 hundredths of an inch. So I change those to 0.62. And so if I wanted to put a 3/4 inch bolt on the outside of my spinner, and then the reason I would do that is it's cheaper. And they still look cool. I think they look cool. Maybe you don't, but I don't know why you keep doing that. So now I have this nice, I could put a bolt on the outside, but for my purposes, I would like to put another spinner. So we're going to delete that. Come over to the rectangle tool, go down to ellipse, and I can do shift and create another circle. And I'm going to bring my circle over here because part of my project is to put text in. And I want to put text around my circle. I think that'll look cool. You can see my original circle though disappeared. Not good. So I want that circle. I want to arrange it. I'm going to send it back. So now, gosh darn it, there we go. So I did it again. Where is my circle? There we go. And actually, let's do group. Let's group this all together for now. Okay, so I'm having some issues with my circles, so I'm going to just separate everything for a little bit. I'm going to come up here to my gray arrow, highlight my triangle, and that's screwed up, so I'm going to Control Z, come up to my black arrow. Let's pull that off and separate it. I have a circle behind my other circle, so let's separate those. And this big circle is the one that I want to put text around. And so I'm going to come over here to the type, and you have different options here. You can do straight typing, vertical typing, and you can mess with these as you want. I'm going to do type on a path. Come over here to my big circle, and I'm going to type in Central Middle School of Science. And I would like that to be a different font, so I'm going to click on it, choose Control A, and maybe my font will be Market Felt, so that looks nice. All right, so I have my text. That's part of my assignment. And I'm going to pull it back into my triangle. And then I want those things to be aligned, so I'm going to choose both of those. I'm going to come up here and play with my alignments. That moved it into the middle. Now I'm going to add this circle. And before I move it, I want this circle actually to be red, because anything that is black in Illustrator, so all of this stuff right now is simply going to engrave. It's not going to cut out. If I want something to cut out, it has to be red. And so I'm going to come over here to this cool little box, and it's got an outline. I'm going to double click on it. I'm going to come to the very top, and you can see that my red right now, excuse me, is 255. 255 is the truest red, and that's what I want. Right now, green is showing 0, and blue is actually showing 51. I don't want 51. I want blue to be 0. So I'm going to click on OK. And you can see that now my circle is really nice red, which is okay, except it's still not going to print out. So I'm going to click on it again. I'm going to come up here to the top where it says stroke, and I'm going to put that as 1,000th of an inch, 0.001. Click return or enter, and now you can see that circle is really light. You can barely see it, and that is the thinnest line that we can create in Illustrator. Bring it back to my triangle. I'm going to align everything. Now everything looks like it's centered and beautiful, and I'm actually going to change that for just a second because it is hard to see. No, I'm not. All right, let's make two more. Let's make some more circles, and then let's really start messing with this shape. So when I have my circle highlighted, I have the black arrow, it's highlighted. I'm going to click Control or Command C, and then to make a copy of it, I do Command V. I'm going to bring my circle over here. I'm going to do another one on the top. That looks nice. And you'll notice that I don't put them totally on the edges because we're going to cut out this triangle eventually after we manipulate the shapes. And I don't want it all cut out. So now we have a very boring spinner. I don't want a triangle spinner. I want some shapes on my spinner. So I'm going to come over here to the curvature tool. And now when I click on my triangle, wherever I click on my triangle, I'm going to create what is called an anchor point. I'm going to put an anchor point right by this circle. I'm going to put one up here. You can really mess with this and do some cool stuff. I'll show you what I mean. Like I can pull my anchor point out here. So I could have the most crazy looking spinner ever. And I can create extra anchor points. So you can make some really funky, awesome shapes. But that's not what I want. I want mine to be symmetrical. So I'm going to do Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. And Control Z, as you can see, makes everything go back to where it last was. I'm going to add an anchor point down here, an anchor point here. And now I'm simply going to pull these in just a little bit. This will give my spinner some shape. Looks like I need some more anchor points on this side. Pull that in, we'll pull this one in. And now we have a pretty symmetrical fidgeting. And I'm going to make this just a tiny bit bigger. Now, if I change the size like I just did, there's some things that worry me. I want to go back and I want to click on my circles and make sure that my size didn't change, because that does happen. That will ruin your whole day. And it looks like my size of my circles stayed the same, which is good. All right, so now I have my circles in red. They're 0.001 on stroke. That means they're going to cut out. But I have to get the outside of my circle ready to cut out too. So I choose my gray arrow. I click on that path. You can see the whole thing is highlighted. And now I'm going to come over here to paint. And once again, this has to be red. You can see that blue right now is on 102. So I'm going to make it 0. Green is 0. So now I have my truest red. And cancel that. And then I want to click on my black arrow. Click on my path. Come up here and I want to make my outside 001, 1,000th of an inch. And everything looks nice. Okay, so now the only thing left to do is we're going to come up here to, oh, I forgot, part of my assignment is to engrave an image on here. So let's find an image. Let's go online. Let's find an image. So let's do, oh, let's see, a husky. If I go on Husky clip art, and let's do free clip art. We don't want to get anything that's copyrighted. And this one looks nice. So I'm going to do Control, copy image. I'm going to come over here, do Command V, and there's my image. So now, while my image is still checked, I come up here to Object, come down to Trace, Image Trace, Make and Expand. Make and expand, change it just a touch, but it's enough that I still like it. I'm going to shrink my husky down, and I want to put him right here, and I want his feet towards the middle. So I'm going to, on the edge of my corner, I'm going to flip him around. And now my husky's on there. So I have Central Middle School of Science, I have a husky. Since these are black, they'll be engraved. Everything else is red. I'm done. So I'm going to come up here to File, Save As, and you can see Central Middle School Spinner, and it's an AI file. It's an Adobe Illustrator file, and that's exactly what I want. So I'm going to save that. And then you guys are going to save that file on your computer and then share it with me on Google Classroom. When we go to do the laser though, you're going to go to File and then Print. When you go to File, Print, you're going to choose none of these, obviously. You're going to choose VLS 3.5, and then you simply come down here and click Print, and it'll go to the laser, and we'll have a different video on that tomorrow.